I'm going to have to use the V-Star initially, but DMR is not working. I'll keep working on that. Good morning, everyone, in 5RCF. Good morning. Copying you now with the D-Star. Thank you for stopping by and for everything with Hilton too for reporting of that. So Hilton PY2BBQ, were you trying to come in with DMR? Were you having the same problem? This is AA4FL.
Desligado.
Hilton. So I'm not sure if you're coming in remote DMR. But thank you for being here. I'm sure we'll get things figured out technically, but if you're on the road and only have DMR, and if there's a DMR issue, that could be a problem. This is AA4FL, the Medical Average Radio Council Digital Voice Net, just about ready to start the net. Any other early check-ins? Make your call this time. PY2BBQ Hilton, it was just pretty much just a pop in and drop with no transmission there, so perhaps there's some technical difficulties today on the Quadnet array. AA4FL,
AA4FL and the group. This is PY2BBQ. I think I'm not transferring the sound. I'm at the road now. Just to wish you a great weekend, but I think I won't participate today. 73 from PY2BBQ.
mentioned Hilton, PY2BBQ.
RS7578.
Okay, I'm not sure if my connection is stable right now. I'm getting a drop and reconnect. This is AA4FL for the Medical Amateur Radio Council TV Net. Is there any emergency traffic, priority traffic for that? If so, go ahead and make your call to AA4FL.
Status check with you, Jay. You were coming through and then broke up and doubled with Hilton. I'm hearing both of you on both modes. 84, I said.
Thank you for the report, Jack. This is AA4FL, and for some reason I'm not hearing Hilton, so I apologize if we're doubling. I see we have Andy also checking in K4QY. Thank you for joining us here, Andy. Do we have any check-ins of emergency or limited time? Well, this is priority traffic first in emergencies. Anyone in that category, please go ahead and make your call to AA4FL Net Control. None heard. A little bit of housekeeping here. Make sure that when you check in, not to tailgate, let the station in front of you finish their transmission and wait. You can pause up to 5 seconds and give a little time before not only you key up, but also a few seconds before you speak. Being that the Quadnet array is a complex connection of servers and repeaters, and everything needs to sync, to harmonize for the most efficiency. So keep that in mind, please. At this time, this is AA4FL, Net Control. Do we have any stations that are just going to be here on limited time or are mobile? Go ahead and make your call now. Okay, none heard. Do we have any stations that would like to check in who have not been checked in already? Go ahead and make your call now to AA4FL for the Medical Image Radio Council Digital Voice Net. Okay, Keith, you keyed up. I did not hear Keith's audio. Has anybody else copied Keith's audio, N3IM's audio? Go ahead and let me know now. AA4FL.
N3IM.
Okay, Keith, thank you for coming through on the DMR side. Thank you. It lets us know DMR is working. We do appreciate that. Any other stations for check-in? Make your call to AA4FL.
You will work with Andy.
Good morning, Andy. It's good to have you on board. Kilo 4 Quebec Yankee. It's always a pleasure. I know you're very busy with two very active teenagers, and hopefully this summer you're getting a lot of family time, but outside of the hours that we're keeping you from participating on the net before. Any other stations for check-in? Go ahead and make your call to AA4FL. Okay, this is AA4FL, the Marco Digital Voice Net. We have myself and Mark, WA1EXA, Etsu here from Japan, JA0BXP, K3FCT, KD4IZ, PY2BBQ, Andy5RTF, K4QY Andy, for those of you that don't recognize Andy's call. It's about 6 months to a year old when he operated to the 1x2. And N3IM, Keystone, Pennsylvania. Are there any other stations, before we start the roundtable, that would like to check in? If you're just listening, that's fine. You don't have to participate, but it'd be nice to know that you let us know you're here. You don't have to be a member of the Medical Image Radio Council to check in. AA4FL waiting for check-ins. No additional check-ins heard. I'm going to give the mic in just a moment here to Etsu because it's very late. It's late in Japan. I don't want him to have to stay up all night to talk to us. Etsu, here in the United States, we still have cases of COVID obviously going around, and I know I've had a lot of family members recently in Massachusetts, California, here in Florida personally, and before we talk about that in Japan, again, condolences to former Prime Minister, I think that was the title of Mr. Abe, and condolences on his passing, his assassination. JA0BXP, why don't you take the mic first here, Etsu? Go ahead. JA0BXP, Etsu, are you still here with us? Go ahead. Okay, I'm not hearing anything from Etsu. Was anyone else? Let me know if you were hearing Etsu, and I'm just missing it. Go ahead. Oh, nothing heard from Japan. Okay, Mark, WA1EXA, good morning to you on Cape Cod, and let me turn the mic to you.
Okay, WA1EXA here from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Well, just tell you everything's fine up here. We seem to be just like everybody else as far as COVID is concerned, and I guess we had another one or two cases of monkeypox also show up recently. And we're just enjoying the summer. Beautiful weather. As I stated earlier, we're living through our high season, which is traffic, and nobody can go anywhere. So we just kind of stay home during this time of the year. I can't get into the restaurants, and it's just packed with people. So this is really our first year in the past four, or past three at least, that we've had back to the old number of people here, which I guess is good for the economy. And as I remind everybody here who complains about it, they pay the bills. So I have no problem with it. Other than that, we are fine, and things are going okay. We had a good, wait one. We had a good field day with my local radio club. I put in my time overnight, which is my typical spot, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And there was more contacts than usual. Normally about 3 o'clock in the morning, everything gets kind of quiet. But this year we kind of stayed busy all the way through. All I got to report to you there, WA1EXA.
Thank you, Mark. And I'm glad you're able to join us, and nice hearing that you had a successful field day. K3FCT, Steve, go ahead.
Well, thanks very much, Jay, and hi to everyone on the net. I've been missing in action for several weeks. Field day and the subsequent weekend, my son and pregnant daughter-in-law were with us, and that was a significant distraction, as you might imagine. I had wonderful weekends, an epic field day, and an epic visit with family. Quite delightful. Not so delightful is the analysis of Eric Topol, who is really the only source of science that I follow closely anymore on COVID and related issues. His tweet stream is increasingly alarming to me anyway, although alarming is maybe a bit strong, certainly concerning about the Omicron BA.5 variant. Wait one. He linked to CDC Gov showing two different graphics. The one that's being most broadly communicated shows community levels of infection in all counties in the U.S. and the one not being shared around very much shows community transmission in all counties in the U.S. The transmission rate of this new variant is extraordinary. Also, and while only anecdotal at this point, is a case or two where individuals fully immunized who then have the experience of an Omicron BA.5 infection turn up even after clinical recovery with depressed T cell numbers, moderately depressed T cell numbers some weeks after BA.5 infection. Wait one. And let me just finish by pointing out that Topol also refers to a study of BA.5 cultures demonstrating that while the median for viral clearance, and this is not by antigen testing or PCR testing, this is by viral culture. While the median is 5 days, the interquartile range is 3 to 9 days. So that means when we're telling people to go back to work and go back to routine activities at 5 days, half of those individuals are still shedding virus. Is that enough concerning news for you? I'll let you make your own judgment. Read Topol. But it certainly concerns me. Back to you, Jay. This is Steve in Philadelphia, K3F, ZT.
Thank you for the report, Steve. K3FZTAA4FL. I have not been reading up on it, so I was unaware of what you just described. It sounds like from a reliable source. And literally, the spread just seems to be amplifying. Individuals that have been very cautious, including myself, have been moderately cautious. But hearing from nursing homes and such, my father-in-law is in an independent living facility that has just gone back down to lockdown, the third time it's locked down, where they're not having their dining facility open and only essential personnel come in. So the spread rate has been observed in palpable ways from a personal standpoint. Cousins in other states, my immediate family, my children, individuals that have been able to avoid infectivity up to this point, although I still know individuals who have never had known cases. As to whether or not they've had unknown cases is another issue. So thank you for the report and for keeping up with the research. And as we go down the list here, we'll let everyone else chime in addition what they've read professionally. So next on the list is KD4IZ Jack. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, good morning, Jay. Excuse me. Good morning, Jay, and good morning to everyone. I'm going to keep it fairly short. I've done a lot of reading in epidemiology recently, and I'm going to share two resources that I found to be very, very helpful. I want to bring it to your attention, particularly Dr. Caitlin Zettelina. She has in the web, I put the web links, which are somewhat complicated. I'm putting them onto the almost instant message chat window. We can put them in an email if we need to, but I found her commentary and analysis just fabulous. The second resource, which I think is just as valuable in many ways, they have separate newsletters, comes from the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health Center for Health Security. And they have a series of newsletters that follow all current epidemiology challenges that you can sign up for. And I'm going to post that link as well. Rather than to try to talk about anything specific, I think the latest posting by Dr. Gentilina is very, very well worth reading. It is a nice look at some of the data. She does some great personal commentary along with it that is quite valuable. And again, I think this is an individual that you guys should be aware of. But she addresses the epidemiology of reinfection with COVID in her latest blog posting, and it's quite good. Gee, that's about all I've got here. Seems like whatever our problem was has settled down. I'm seeing solid connection on DMR and hearing a solid connection here on DSTAR. So it seems that whatever it was did us, and then it decided to fix itself. A4FL, KD4
Thank you, Jack. KD4 IZAT, and I think it would be a wonderful experience to quote for Marco in general, since so few of us are on the digital voice.net. If you would, to listserv everyone that's here today, send your favorite links to the most current COVID information, the ones that you find the most useful, and share those on the Google group. I think that would be very beneficial for the group. Thank you for mentioning those two, as I said, complicated URLs that would do well in an email. And the same for you, Steve, as the source of the particular person, if that's something that can be shared, if you can distribute that on the Google group as well. PY2 BBQ Hilton, are you able to communicate with us today as well as recording? Go ahead. Yeah. I am not hearing Hilton on this end. Please, before I ask for someone else to speak, is there anyone that is copying Hilton? Go ahead and let me know if you are copying, if not, if you're not. Okay, nothing heard. We'll check back with Hilton later. Chip, M5RTF, good morning to you. I'll let you go ahead and take the mic, and interesting to hear your perspective from Nolan's.
Well, good morning, Jay and the group. I'm going to be brief because EMR is not working. And when I get home, these are my voice doesn't go out on the audio stream or into the recording, so this is just dead air for anybody who listens later. I have been on vacation for the last week and a half, so I'm once removed from any information on COVID, and since I'm a psychiatrist, probably twice removed. I have been trying to find
non-lethal ways to get rid of a couple of small alligators that have been trying to eat my ducks. If anybody has any advice on alligators, I'd be glad to accept that. Inside RTA.
My gosh, if I wish I had experience in that. I've certainly been around plenty of alligators here in Florida, but I don't know. I'm sure there's probably good sources locally for you there. And sorry that the ducks that you like to probably like to feed or keep nearby are being ravaged by the alligators. We'll hope to hear good news about that next week that you found a solution. K4QY, Andy, good morning to you. And let's hear how things are going in Ponte Vedra.
Good morning, Jay and the group. Yeah, this is my first foray back in. I was planning on listening. I'm glad that it sounds like it used to. So, we did move. I finally have my antennas up. There's still some gardening to be done before I put my radials down. So hopefully I'll be on HF very, very soon. I finally got this computer back up and running. Couldn't find my COM port for a while, but here I am. And I'm actually rounding today. From a boots on the ground perspective, I have not really had to admit a COVID patient for many months. We have had a couple of incidental COVID patients that were here not necessarily for COVID, but we really aren't actively treating our COVID patients for COVID. We're treating them for whatever else they came in with, whether it be urinary tract, a different type of pneumonia, CHF, etc. I do a couple of shifts every now and then at the urgent care on Amelia Island, and I see quite a bit of COVID there, and it's almost always from visitors. So if you come to the clinic with any type of URI symptoms and you are not from Florida, then you likely have COVID, and that has proven correct, I bet, over 90% of the time. But then I think if I'm sick enough to go to an urgent care while I'm on vacation, then I probably do have something. Those patients sometimes want something to be treated with, and so we prescribe Paxlovid, which is available at our CVS and Walgreens, but really nowhere else. In the hospital, I think we still have remdesivir. Can't remember the last time I used it. Some of the rural ERs, some of those hospitals are using some type of monoclonal. I don't know what they're using because that's not a treatment that I would prescribe when I'm working. That's prescribed by their outpatient providers. Other than that, yes, extremely busy, and I hope to pop on when I can. And I'm glad to be back. So back to you, Jay. This is K4QY.
Well, K4QY, we are certainly glad to have you back, Andy. The life cycle can certainly get in the way of the sunspot cycle, or in this particular case, the digital access. Only so many minutes in the day. Glad you're finding some personal time for amateur radio, and the nice thing about Marco, of course, is being able to merge the two together, the profession and the hobby, and bring a little more meaning and interaction with others with common challenges. So it's good to have you finding your way back into activity, Andy, and I certainly enjoy keeping up with the family on Facebook and all the good things that are happening with your kids. Congratulations on being able to get a residence that allows you to have some sort of an HF antenna system. Congratulations. And here I am. Keith, good morning to you. Go ahead.
AA4FL in the Marco group. Yeah. Well, we didn't participate in the field day, but we had a good 4th of July. We did do some of the 13 colonies. Managed to get not all of them. I couldn't get Great Britain, and for some reason I couldn't get Pennsylvania. But that's probably because I was mostly on 10 meters. As far as COVID's concerned, the majority, according to the CDC's maps on integrated county views, the majority of Pennsylvania counties are low COVID. As a matter of fact, the majority of the Northeast, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Maine, are all in the low category. The medium category seems to be in areas of population around Philadelphia, Allentown, and that area. The highs seem to be some rural counties, which is kind of interesting for Pennsylvania. And looking at their overall map, Florida is definitely very high all over the counties of Florida. Some of the ones in the Tampa area are medium, and up near Jacksonville, and over into Louisiana, there have a lot of counties that are very high. So that's a very interesting map to look at. In Pennsylvania, I saw a news release just the other day that Pennsylvania has shut down their COVID-19 phone line. So we had a blip in this last week compared to earlier in the spring, where we were almost down to zero. But we've had a blip up to a 14.6% positivity on 14,696 people, or tests performed. I'm sorry, 78,000 tests performed. We had 10 to 14% positivity. Break one. What's more interesting is that a large percentage of the population of Pennsylvania has received at least one dose of the COVID vaccine. Percent of the total population, 86.3%, have had at least one dose. Percent of the population over 65 years of age is 95% fully vaccinated. So the percent of Pennsylvania's fully vaccinated recipients with valid county of residence is 94.7%. So that's kind of interesting. On a personal note, I've had some problems since the beginning of June when I managed to fall, and we're looking into that. I have 6 broken vertebrae, which they're looking at how to best handle. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'll make it to Buffalo or not, Jay. This is N3IM, back to the Marco group.
N3IM, AA4FL, we're so sorry to hear about the physical problems there, Keith, and hope you find a way to mend and regain your comfort and your mobility as well. And certainly we understand that not being able to come to Buffalo right now, focus on your health, and we look forward to better news in the future. I'm glad the amateur radio is there to help you with the ability to travel by the airwaves at times when you probably don't feel like physically traveling. The 13 Colony event was also popular on 6 meters. I heard a few guys talking in the chat groups about all the different stations they worked and which states they were lacking. It's nice to have that event. 6 meters has been fairly active. Today is a quiet day, but your area, Keith, in Pennsylvania, has been working into Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. So I think Kazakhstan. So it looks like not only is Kazakhstan doing well at Wimbledon, but they're also doing well working U.S. stations in the W9s and the W3s and the W1s. Very popular context. Let me let it drop one. I personally was able to work the Z66X Kosovo expedition on 6 meters. I heard decoded a few exchanges between Kosovo and European stations, and I just happened to call him at a time when his signal peaked, and he copied me with a pretty good signal report. It was about a 3-minute window, and which is plenty on FT8 to make contact. So I was one of the fortunate U.S. stations to get that new country, and I worked the FP station in St. Pierre. So I'm sitting at 89 countries now on 6, and it has not been the stable of things Europe I'd hoped for this year. Everything's been very fleeting, 1 or 2 cycles. You copy Ukraine, Russia, et cetera, the Middle East for 1 or 2 cycles, and then it fades out. Anyone ever has questions about FT8 DX06, I'll be feel free to ask them after the net, and I'll hang around and we can talk about it. Were there any other stations that would like to check in that have not checked in already? There's the Medical Image Radio Council, Digital Voice Net, AA4FL, Net Control, so make your call. No other calls. Tuesday night we do have a book club. The book club is talking about, it's actually a book about radio and radio waves. So you don't have to read the book. I'll send an email to the group, and if you just like to have the Zoom session be a conversation about your experiences with old-time radio, or how you got into amateur radio, did you do shortwave listening, what was your experience as a child noticing what came through on the medium waves, et cetera, that got you interested. Please do come Tuesday night at 9 p.m. The Zoom link, I'll redistribute it again, and again, we'll tinker the way it's introduced to the group as just more of a coffee house. Or for those of you on the East Coast, it would be a decaf coffee house at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So hopefully we'll hear everybody. They'll be able to participate in the Zoom session. Are there any other discussion threads that one would like to take up today? We'll go ahead and take suggestions for today and start new lists. Make your call to AA4FL.
WA when you say.
Okay, Mark, go ahead. WA1EXA.
WA when you say here. I had 2 things that I wanted to mention and forgot. One, does everybody have a kind of a profile of the symptoms of the new Omicron? What do you call? Variants. Let's say the word. I have not heard anything explaining the what people are seeing and how they're feeling, and it seems to be very different depending on who we talk to. And the other thing is, I just got a notification through the local pharmacy or state pharmacy associations that the FDA has approved pharmacists to prescribe the oral COVID drug. Now, I don't know what each state is doing about it. I wouldn't go out there and start telling people to go to the drugstore and have the pharmacist prescribe it for you, but it has been approved nationally, And now it probably has to go through some state by state regulations, but I don't think it's really active yet, but it may be very soon. So that's something new on the horizon, which might help out a lot of the prescribers. They can use the pharmacist as the actually writing the order. So that's all I have. And back to you. You have any next thing?
Well, thank you, Mark, and we'll give others an opportunity to describe in their states the ability of pharmacists to directly dispense medication. So, one other thought here is dating back to the session we had online with the epidemiologist from the University of Florida. There was discussion during that HFNet as to whether or not the home tests are reportable. So, for example, in my house, we had three of us with COVID, and I called in for medication, but the other two did not. So there was been no mechanism for those home test kits to be reported, and some of you were talking about positivity rates as high as 15%. So as we talk about Mark's subject with the pharmacist, I assume that this could be after a home antigen test. But with the millions and millions of home antigen tests that are sent, does the positivity rate really have relevance? Because I would assume that a great portion of people are picking this up at home and maybe never actually seeking medical care after that, as two of the three family members in my house did. So as we go on to the discussion thread, I'll take a list. If you'd like to make a comment about Mark's comments or input about my comments, go ahead and let me know, and I'll add you to the list, and we'll start roundtabling it. This is AA4FL.
WJ8B Mobile.
Good morning, Andy. WJ8B Mobile. I have you checked in, and I'm going to let you go ahead and take the mic and offer some input. WJ8B, this is AA4FL. Are you still copying us, Andy? Would you like to make a presentation? Go ahead and take the mic. Okay, I'm not sure if Andy's not hearing me. Hopefully I'm not doubling with him, and I'm not hearing him and you are. Any other stations that would like to offer additional comments, please go ahead and let me know, and we'll start a new list. Okay, no other stations and comments. I hope my transmissions have been steady and everyone's been able to copy me well. This is the first week I'm operating in Hawthorne here in North Central Florida using Starlink internet service, so I'm finally getting rates in the range of anywhere from 50 to 100 megabits per second, whereas before I was only getting 12. So hopefully the stability is there. I was disappointed that there's no provisions to be able to use the Flex equipment here. The server cannot connect using Starlink internet service based on the way that it's set up. Perhaps it could be used in a limited way with a lot of networking experience, but certainly nothing that's out of the box. So I hope the transmissions have been excellent here, and you can tell an improvement. This is AA4FL. Any additional comments before we bring the net to a close? Go ahead and make your call. JA0BXP, Etsu, go ahead.
AA4FL on the net. This is JA0BXP. The Japanese COVID-19 spreading as a seventh wave right now, and the patients are increasing in Japan. On the topic, can you hear me? AA4FL, JA0BXP.
QSL, Etsu, I understand the seventh wave of COVID there. Sorry to hear that again. Condolences on Mr. Abe's passing, his assassination. Go ahead, Etsu.
Okay, it's a great program, and as you know, the Abe was shot in Nara. Nara is a good city, like Kyoto, but we are very sad to hear the news these couple of days. AA4FL and the net, JA0 Bravo X-ray, Papa.
Yes, a sad day. Indeed, we know that Japan doesn't suffer gun violence to any high degree. Hopefully it's not an indicator that society is changing there. And hopefully that's not the case. Again, condolences. And thank you for stopping by. We know it's very late there in Japan. Any other stations that would like to pass on condolences or messages to Etsu? If so, go ahead and make your call to JA0BXP.
This is Chip and Terry Keister, and we also pass on condolences in 5RTF.
Thank you for offering them, Chip. I'm going to bring the net to a close here, and we'll stay on the Quadnet array here for any off-the-net comments or discussions of either Etsu or myself about 6-meter DX on FT8, whatever you would like to discuss in the informal fashion of a post-net discussion. This is AA4FL, bringing the Medical Amateur Radio Council's digital voice net to a close, returning the Quadnet array, and appreciate everything they do to keep us talking to each other, but to the regular amateur use, and of course some of us being regular amateurs also are going to start the post-net discussion. AA4FL will be standing by.
AA4FL, WA1EXA. Any comments about, I have some comments about FT8 and 4.
Oh, I'm here, Mark. Go ahead. Let's talk about what you got there. This is AA4FL.
Well, I don't know if you see the same thing I do, but FT8, it's real difficult to to make contacts because of the number of people that are on it. FT4 works very well, except sometimes there's not a lot of people on it, sometimes there's nobody on it. I'm wondering if you see the same thing over there between the two different modes.
It's a good question, Mark, and actually on 6 meters, it's an issue that is addressed in a number of different ways. So the usual FT8 frequency is 50.313, and it does get very crowded, particularly when European DX is in. So DX stations will often use 50.323 for DX. Occasionally I see some domestic stations trying to have a discussion there, but it's really just supposed to be for DX stations. There is another frequency, 50.303, that's available for domestic. So there may be, whichever band you're on, 17 meters, 12 meters, 10 meters, 20 meters particularly, there may be alternate frequencies. Certainly when DX stations get on, they don't use the conventional frequencies generally to help alleviate that problem. Which bands are you experiencing the overcrowding with, Mark? Go ahead.
I happen to have access to 6 meters, so I'm basically using 80, 40, 17, all the way up to 10. So between 80 and 10 is pretty much. And on those bands, there are just 2 frequencies, one for FT8, one for FT4. There is not a third, which 6 meters does have. Well, maybe it would be nice if they can spread out the FT8s a little bit, because you look at the spectrum and it's solid all the way across a lot of times, and you just can't get a signal in. I mean, you keep calling CQ or you try to call back a station, and obviously there's just too many stations for them to hear you. It's like a waste of time. And then FT8 is so slow as compared to FT4. So by the time you get through the cycle, the station's long gone, talk to somebody else.
Understood. I don't know what the other frequency options are, the different frequencies for FT8. However, like in WSJT, they only program the one frequency for each band. So when I said 50.303 and 323, that's something that operators just know about, and then you have to go in and set that frequency up in the software. So you have to choose from. I assume they must have some alternative frequencies for alleviate the crowding. If they don't come through, they will by convention on the HF bands. But they certainly, you have propagation through wide areas on HF where 6 meters is a little more spotty. So it's not as, although it can get challenging. We lose contacts because people start coming on top of the frequency. But 6 meters sporadic key. It's not like somebody's doing it on purpose. They just don't hear it. They don't realize they're affecting you. So far that hasn't been a big issue for me on 6, but I can understand when I try to get on 20, I usually just get on 17 because 20 is too crowded. I understand completely. WA1EXA, AA4FL.
FL WA1EXA. Okay, I'm going to ask around and see if there's other, because I've been using the pre-programmed frequencies, and there may be more and I'm just not aware of them. But I don't think people are, making an effort to block out other people. I think it's just overcrowding, and if you're in Europe, you're hearing the European stations louder than you're hearing the, North American stations, and vice versa, and it's hard to hear the other stations, and it just doesn't come up. So anyway, have you used any other modes other than FT8, FT4? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have. I've tried the Q65. There's usually what happens, at least on 6 meters, is there's a chat group. I think it's let's see, it's ON4, is it KST? Let's see. He's got a series of chat groups. ON4KST.info. So he's got a chat group for 6 and EME, for the weak signal stuff. And people will coordinate that. Like, for example, right now, I'm seeing a message from a station in the Blair Commons saying he's moving to 323 for the West Coast. So that's the common situation. They try to describe it, and then if the signals are so fleeting here, it's sometimes helpful to see strategies that you use on 6 meters. Transmit a signal, see where you're being heard. If there's a slight delay there, there's all kinds of ways here that make life interesting on 6, where you can project who's hearing you and test who's hearing you and know where to point your beam. And it gets a little complicated at times because the cycles are so quick. It may only be 1 or 2 cycles when the signal's gone. So there's plenty of QSOs that start that are completed. Like F403A in Montenegro never completed that one. And same was true with 3 or 4 other TX stations here. So at least at HF, you're not having to deal with that. It's more the QRM issue. So kind of a different issue. But to answer your question, Q65 and all some of the Meteor Scatter apps I've used all over.
WANEXA. Yeah, okay. I have not tried any of the other modes yet, and I would I know a few of my friends here locally have suggested Q65. They say it's a bit more flexible than the other two. So I'm going to give it a try. Sometimes I get very frustrated with FT8 because it just takes so long to go through the cycle as compared to F4. So anyway. Okay, all right. Well, I'm just wondering what you were seeing down there, if it was substantially any different than what we're getting here. People here that do have 6 meters are saying the same thing you are as far as the contacts. They're doing very well, and I've got a number of friends that we meet every Wednesday morning for breakfast, and they were talking about it last Wednesday. So, but unfortunately, my 6 meter is pretty much regulated to 1. I have an old G set that is FM only, and I just use a local repeater. Okay, well, that's it. I wish you a good week, and we'll talk to you next week. WA1EXA.
November 3, India, Mike.
Okay, Keith is here too, Mark, before you depart. You might have some input. By the way, Q65 is slower. It's 30-second cycles, so it's half the speed of FT8. Let's see what Keith has to say. Go ahead, N3IM.
Hey, 4FL, my group, N3IM. Yeah, I find that when the bands are open, depending on which band you're looking at, there's quite a bit of activity on FT8. It's almost the point where, in order to make contacts, you sometimes have to just look for an opening someplace, get yourself in there, and make your call. Same way with doing CQ, it's kind of difficult. FT4 seems to be dead. I'm not sure why, But back about a year ago or so, FT4 was quite active, and I don't know why FT4 all of a sudden is not being utilized as much as it had been in the past. It has something to do with the solar cycle, I guess. I've had some good luck on single sidebands also, where it's not near as crowded, but the polyps are pretty good at times. And I've been playing around with PSK31 and have not made any contacts yet, but I keep looking for the signals and trying to get my rig into where they're at and copy them. So one of these days I'm going to try making contacts that way also. So that's my impression of FT8 and FT4 right now. It depends on how active or how good the band is. I mean, if it's wide open, like it was on 40 meters last night into Europe and Turkey and down into Africa, you just have a almost solid breakline, solid waterfall. It's almost impossible to find an opening. This is N3IM with AA4FL group.
Yeah, Keith, that's true. Now, FT8, of course, wonderful for de-expeditions. They use different frequencies, so you're not dealing with all the QRM. But it's one thing to find an open spot to transmit. It's another thing to have somebody QRM the person that's responding to you. So you may not be able to make the two-way contact. But I worked the VK0 down in Macquarie Island on 30-meter FT8 and also 20-meter FT8 quite easily both times. So it can be quite helpful. Someone copied 6 meters at the station in Nepal. So, just for weak signal stuff, 6 meters particularly, it's invaluable. Situations where you can make contacts in other ways. There was something else I wanted to tell you, Mark, but it's just escaping me now. AA4FL, go ahead, WA1EXA.
Yeah, that is exactly what I've been experiencing on FT4. It was doing very well, and it was a nice alternative to get off FT8. But all of a sudden, it just there's nobody there, and I don't know why. If it's hard to believe that the frequency is not that much different. So I don't think atmospherics would create that, but I don't know. But I'm experiencing the exact same thing. I'll get one, maybe two, sometimes stations on FT4, and of course after you work them, and back on FT8, it's solid all the way across. And I constantly have to keep moving, looking for open spots, and I get some.
Reggie?
Yeah, AA4FL in the group, N3IM. Yeah, one other thing I've noticed a lot of is instead of holding their frequency, they're popping right on top the station. And, of course, that creates problems for the station who may be in a conversation. I don't know if these guys aren't watching the interchange going on with other stations, but they'll pop right in on top of the station, and a lot of times that just disrupts the exchange that's going on at the time. And I don't know what the story is there. I don't know if they feel that they don't have a good enough signal to get through from an open area or what. But I've seen a lot of that recently too. So this is N3IM.
Of course, Keith, what's open to you may not look open to them, so, propagation being what it is. By the way, Mark, I'm sitting here looking at the check group, and on 6 meter chat, they're talking about some of the stations going to 50.333. There's actually 4 frequency sets, and I've heard them on Q65 go to 2 frequency sets. And some of these expeditions, they will announce they're on FT4 specifically. So I've worked a couple of expeditions on FT4, which was an FT8, but you just have to see what's being announced and track the trackers. Of course, 6 meters is so different than the other bands. Guys, I'm going to run, but you guys both have a wonderful week, and I look forward to talking to you next week. We get a chance to come by Tuesday night, talk about old-time radio and shortwave and some of the old ham radio equipment you used in terms of the bands. I'll do the Zoom session on Tuesday night. 730 all is AA4 going to go.
Hey, Jay. Thanks again for your work on this. And yeah, something interesting about old time radio. I'm a docent over at the Marconi RCA Museum here on the Cape, which is an old ship-to-shore station that now is a museum. And I have a lot of information regarding how Marconi set up here. He had an original station on the Cape, and this was the second station, so I do have a lot of information on that. Anyway, thank you for the help, both of you, and maybe we'll see each other on FT4 or FT8 if we can get a spot. So WA with the X-Ray. Anyway.
November 3, Indian Mike, 73 guys, clear.